Hello, welcome to day one of your Star Plus training and your very first video. I am so excited to walk through 30 days in 6 weeks of our Star Plus training. So we're gonna get started with a big why. And before I posted for you to print off the action plan worksheet, you don't necessarily have to have that right now, but it's going to be helpful this week. But when we talk about an action plan and we talk about the first thing that you have to know before you have a plan is you have to understand a why. And if I was to ask a lot of you when you first began Scentsy, or maybe like what Scentsy was, why? Like, what is your Scentsy why? Some of you would maybe say like to become a director, or my Scentsy why is to fill my Scentsy habit. Otherwise could be I want to be a stay-at-home mom, or I want to be able to quit my full-time job. Okay, those can be things that just you will normally say, this is my Scentsy why, right? But when we talk about having a big why, it has to be something that is going to keep you going when things get rough. Because things can get rough in life, and things can get rough in Scentsy life, right? So when I think about like a big why, it has to be your why has to push you so much that you're going to be able to sustain through those difficult times. Those difficult times like when you've heard no 1,000 times. When Scentsy changes a policy that maybe you don't agree with, or you might have to like pivot or change your perspective on that policy. When your rock star underneath you all of a sudden quits. Maybe when a relationship that you thought was going well within Scentsy, you know, like a Scentsy sisterhood or something like that, when that changes. Like there's so many times that we can think so many things that I could think that could go wrong, right? And that's not being a pessimistic, that's just being a realist, right? Life is hard, and running your own business, you're gonna have ups and you're gonna have downs. Your why has to be bigger and able to sustain you and to push you and to drive you to get through those difficult times. It has to keep you pushing to go on, and it has to keep you discovering more and discovering how you can change your business along the way. Okay, so that's what we're talking about. We're talking about a big why. It can change from discovering why you first joined Scentsy. Okay, so I can think about when I first joined Scentsy, the first thing that I knew, I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. I always knew that God made me to be a stay-at-home mom. That's just what I was gonna do, right? And excuse me. And so that was kind of like what drove me to stay at home. Okay, so that I needed to make enough money so that I could stay at home. So when I joined Scentsy, my why was to stay at home and raise my kids. Okay, well, I'm doing that. I did that. So am I just okay being there? Like, your why has to change, but there has to be a bigger why. Like, yes, I wanted to stay at home and raise my babies. Like, that's what I knew I wanted to do. That was my why at the time. But why did I want to be a stay-at-home mom? Why do I continue to want to be a stay-at-home mom, especially when my kids next year, yay, are going to be all in school all day? Can I just like pause for a minute and just, can I get an amen? Because I don't know if you're there or if you are longing to be there, if you have kids, and there's just something so special about when you have that time to work at home. And then I can actually work from like 9 to 3 when they're at school, and I can have the whole day. Or I can go watch a movie, whatever I want to do, right? Because I have a why with Scentsy, and I accomplished that, was to be a stay-at-home mom. But I have to think bigger. Because if I was to say to myself, my why is just to be a stay-at-home mom, I've already accomplished that. So what is pushing me to do better? What's pushing me to go to the next step? Because I've already accomplished that why and that goal. And so I think that when we're talking about like, what is our big why and why do you do Scentsy? You have to think about first, what is your life why? Like, what is your big life why? Like, you can take Scentsy completely out of it, right? If I was to tell you what my life why is, my life why is to be debt-free so that I can be a yes wife and a yes mom. And what that means to me is that when my husband says, let's take a trip and go visit the northeast of the United States, and let's just go for the weekend, I can be a yes wife that says, yes, we can go do that. Because I have built a business that I'm my own boss and I can take off whenever I want to. I have built and established a business that financially can provide for that too. I want to be a yes mom. That when my kid says, you know, Mom, I think I want to try basketball this year, I can say, yes, let's do that. Because I have built a business that financially can provide whatever the entrance fee, the equipment, whatever for that. I have built a business that I am my own boss, that I can create a schedule to go around that child's practice and game schedule. I'm a yes mom that I can go to every single sporting event. Gosh, I get teary-eyed just thinking about all the things that I want to say yes to for my kids and yes to for my husband, and not just a yes wife and a yes mom, but I want to be a yes person. I want to be a person that can give more than she takes. I want to be a person that can give to charities of our choice. I want to be a yes person that when I see a family in need, or when our church is in need, or whatever the circumstance may be, I want to be that yes person. Okay, so that's my life why. And so when you are thinking about your life why, some questions that you can ask yourself are, who am I? What makes me excited? Like, obviously, like if I'm getting teary-eyed about thinking about like, saying yes to my kids, like there's a deep down like feeling of like providing for them in that time, right? And so that's kind of where I want you to start thinking about what is your big life why. What's your dream What, like, if you had nothing to say no to, what would your life look like? What things would you have in there? Like, would you own a 1960s Thunderbird? Would you be able to take weekend vacations with your husband? Would you be able to quit your full-time job? Would you be able to build the house of your dreams? Would you be able to sell everything you owned and buy an RV and live in an RV and travel the world? Like, if you had no boundaries, nothing holding you back, what would your life look like? And so that's kind of what we're thinking about. What is the big why? Because I think that there can be whys that are stepping stones to your big why. For me, my first stepping stone, and I am such a financial numbers kind of person. And if I've ever coached you or trained you in anything like that, you know that, like, okay, Hannah always asks me, what do I need to be making in my paycheck for XYZ to happen? Like, and that's just the kind of thinker I am. And so when I first joined Scentsy, my why was to make $600 a month, because that was our rent at the time. I was also a part-time apartment manager, so our rent was like cut in half. But that was my why. That was, if I could make our apartment, our rent, I could stay at home. Okay, so I did that. And then I had to think bigger. Okay, what's my next why? Okay, so my next why, and there's some in between. I'm gonna tell you, there's some in between, but my next why was to make $5,000 consistently in a month. Can you guys, like, it just blows my mind to think that, like, nobody can go into Scentsy and be like, I'm just gonna make $5,000 a month. But that wasn't my first why. It was like the next why, okay? And so when I accomplished, I guess you would say, that why or goal, then it's like, okay, what's the next step? What's my next why in order to make my big why happen? And so, like, we're making these steps, we're moving forward, we're paying off debt. I've accomplished my why, and I have a bigger why now. Like the next step, I feel like we're making stepping stones to reach our big why. And so my next big why is to make 10,000 consecutively. And so I know when I do that, it makes me one step further to completing and to reaching that big why. So sometimes the desire isn't enough to get us out of our comfort zone. Meaning, if I had just let myself say $600 was enough, then the 5,000 or the 10,000 wouldn't even have come into play. I wouldn't have worked for it. So that's where I had to find what my big why was. And so I want you to think, what is your big why? What is important to you? And there's nothing too small and nothing too big. And there's no right and there's no wrong to your big why. What is big enough that is going to keep you going through those hard times? Just think about that. What is big enough to keep you going through those hard times? To be a yes person, I guess you could say, so I don't have to list them all, is big enough for me, and it drives me enough to make Scentsy a priority in my life. Because if Scentsy wasn't a priority in my life, I could just be sitting back here wishing and hoping to have that big why happen, but not putting in the action. And so that's why we need to find out, what is your big why? Because once you understand that, then we go to the action. What are the actions that we need to be doing in order to be getting you to your big why? And one of those actions is going to be prioritizing. It's going to be making your Scentsy business a priority in your life. Because we're saying that your big why is really supported by your Scentsy why. So my big why to be a yes person could not happen if I did not have that Scentsy why to make $10,000 a month. Because y'all, let's face it, what other business is out there that can give you the opportunity to create your own why and to make it happen, and make it happen on your own terms? Like, that is the amazing power of direct sales. It's the empowerment of knowing that Scentsy can do this for you. Like, do you believe that? Do you honestly, to your core, do you believe that if you put the effort and time in prioritizing your Scentsy business, do you actually believe that? Do you believe that Scentsy can be that for you? I do. Like, you are so valuable, and you have made it this far in your business that I know that with the right steps and the right tools, that big why can happen for you and be supported by Scentsy. So your why has to drive your business. You have to be making choices that may not change your today, but they change your tomorrow. What I'm doing today may not affect me directly today, but it's going to affect me in my tomorrow. Because when I prioritize my business now, and I get the things done that need to be happening, and I'm making these steps, it's going to be hard, and there's going to be effort put into it. You're going to have to do it one way and then shift and think, okay, that's not working anymore. And so you have to change your perspective, and you have to do it again, but in a different way. But if your why in life is your big why is big enough to drive that, then that's all you need, because your passion and your determination and the drive is already there. So when those hurdles come, you can say to them, this is where I am, and you will not take me off this path, because this is my big why. The things that you are doing and the things that we're going to do through this program are going to have to be choices that you make to move your business forward. Because these choices that you're making can move your business forward to your big why. Isn't that exciting? Like, I just think about like how the things that you are doing today, it gives me goosies to think that the things that you are doing today can be a part of your big why. So I want you to become obsessed with what your big why is. Like, I'm talking about obsessed. When you think of something that you're obsessed about, I mean, I think when I was like obsessed over a guy or something, like literally, like I think about him all the time. The decisions that I made were maybe based on like him or, you know, whatever. And you just were like, oh, you know, like this little schoolgirl, like love for this handsome boy. That's what you need to be for your big why. You need to be obsessed about it. Okay, so here's your action that you're gonna take today for day one. So number one, what's your big why? I want you to sit down and I want you to think about that. And the things that you need to think about are, my why has to be able to sustain me and drive me through those hard times. And you can have a couple of little whys, and they're not little. There may be, you know, if you decide to create a vision board, these are all things that you see on your vision board. Is that the 1960 Thunderbird? Is that the RV to travel with your family in? Is that earning incentive trips? Is that putting your kid through medical school? Like, those are all things that you can see on your vision board, okay? So your task is to think of and come up with your big why. Second, you're gonna write it down. And you're going to go share it with somebody verbally. Because I firmly believe, and when we share and we hear ourselves say it, just like you saw me get emotional about being a yes mom, when you hear yourself say it, it means so much more. And your heart hears it, and the other person hears you, and they can keep you accountable. Okay? So, number one, what's your big why? Number two, write it down and share it. Number three, I want you to comment below, and you're going to share with this Star Plus group what that why is. And then number four is I want you to share that on Facebook. I want you to either create a collage that is like a vision board, or whatever your creative mind thinks. Like, I want you to create that, and I want you to speak that into the Facebook world, and I want you to tag me in that. And so I know that you have completed all of your tasks. And what that does too, and I would encourage you too to make sure that you share that with your customers and share that with your team, because they know that Hannah's not here just to sling some wax. I am, but I'm slinging wax to be a yes mom. And so I think it's important that you share that with everybody, okay? So you have 4 things to do. If you need to rewind so you get your 4 things, but make sure you get that done. And remember, you have 48 hours to get your task done. So I cannot tell you how excited I am to hear what your big why is. But more importantly, I can't tell you how excited I am to be a part of helping you move forward in that big why. Love you guys.